Good morning. We're new around here, so I thought we'd introduce ourselves. I'm Jill.
I'm Terry.
And we're traveling around in our self-converted van, Tumbleweed.
Along with our dog, Tokay, who is a Hungarian, very spoiled poolie.
This little monster right here is our puppy dog, Tokay. He's a Hungarian poolie, and he might be the spoiledest pooch in the world.
We passed into Turkey from Bulgaria, and we followed along here, traveling down through the Thrace region of Turkey, which is a very agricultural area. Then eventually, we arrived down at the sea to explore the Gallipoli Peninsula. The highlights of the Gallipoli Peninsula for me were the Canakkale 1915 bridge and the Kilitbahir Castle, which is right about here. We also did some exploration of the Gallipoli Peninsula and its World War I history, and then traveled back up here and crossed over that big, beautiful bridge. We journeyed down out of the mountains that form the border between Bulgaria and Turkey, and eventually reached a small city where we were able to find our HGS sticker, which is the toll pass for Turkey. The Thrace region of Turkey is a rolling agricultural plain, breadbasket of the country. Hoot hoot, we can see the water of the sea. I'm guessing it's I don't know what it is technically. I always enjoy small fishing harbors in the seaside, probably because I grew up in such a landlocked area. Good morning. We got to Turkey yesterday, and today we have arrived at the sea. I actually had to look it up to figure out what body of water we were on, and this is the Marmara Sea. And over to our left would be the Aegean, and then there's a narrow peninsula that extends south, and that is Gallipoli, which, if you remember Gallipoli, it was the scene of horrible, horrible fighting in World War I. If the name sounds familiar to you, that's probably why. There's my little tumbleweed. Hoot hoot, here's our first view of the Canakkale 1915 bridge, something I've been looking forward to for quite some time. This bridge is truly an engineering marvel. It is the longest suspension bridge in the world, with the main span coming in at 2,023 meters. It spans the Dardanelles, which is a narrow passage of water that allows access between the Black Sea and the Aegean Sea. The total length of this beautiful bridge is about 4.6 kilometers. Construction started in 2017, and it took roughly 5 years to complete. Together with the roadway approaches, the total cost of this bridge was around 2.5 billion euro. It was built by a Turkish firm in conjunction with design engineering firms from around the world, companies that specialize in various aspects of bridge construction. Officially called the Canakkale 1915 Bridge, it commemorates an important Ottoman victory during the Gallipoli campaign. Just to give you a sense of the scale of this massive bridge, the towers each soar to over 1,000 feet, over 330 meters. Our first Turkish lunch was at this cute little place. Meydan means city center, and Lokantaza is like a hot buffet table. Hot prepared food in a bain-marie. I think I'm going to enjoy Turkish food. Now we're heading down the Gallipoli Peninsula to explore the fortress of Kilitbahir. There's the fortress we came to see. The ferry is there on the left. It used to be the only way to get across the Dardanelles, and even today it's much more economical than the bridge. This fortress dates from Ottoman times and was constructed by Sultan Mehmet in 1463. Its name in Turkish means Lock of the Sea, and that really reflects its defensive purposes. The primary purpose of this fortress was to provide security for the strait, the Dardanelles, that go up into the Black Sea, and to control shipping through that passage. The Dardanelles are a 60-mile-long narrow passageway between the Aegean Sea on the Mediterranean and the Sea of Marmaris, which borders the Black Sea. So all of the commerce, all of the shipping coming out of the Black Sea and going into the Black Sea passes through this narrow strait. The shipping is not without risks, however, especially as there are strong currents as the Dardanelles narrow toward Canakkale.
This castle behind me, this fortress, was built at the narrowest part of the Dardanelles. And together with that castle over there, they could control the entire passage into the entirety of the Black Sea, which is really kind of amazing and gave them a lot of power back in the day. The artillery couldn't fire all the way across, but they had enough to fire. The two artilleries could meet from this fortress and that fortress. They could cover all the passage into and out of the Black Sea. So that's pretty darn interesting.
Fortress had an audio-visual experience where you could meet some of the characters from the fortress's past.
But he's got a nice hat. Oh, he's gone. Let's see what these guys are up to over here. Ahoy! They are firing the cannon. The whole purpose of this fortress. This guy is management by standing around. This guy is the worker bee. And that's a big cannon.
Piri Reis was a famous Ottoman navigator and cartographer, believed to have been born in nearby Gallipoli. He's famous for a map he created in 1513 that showed the Americas. He did, however, meet an untimely end, executed by the Sultan he served in Cairo.
Well, a lot of times with these castles and fortresses and stuff, we don't tend to come inside because, I don't know, it's just better to really imagine them from the outside. But I have to say, this one's really pretty cool for wandering around in. It's all got all this flowing sort of curves and circles and arcs, and just makes it an interesting wonder. That is one set of stairs going up to the top. I finally figured out the scheme of this thing. It's got a heart-shaped inner castle or fortress surrounded by a three-leaf clover, essentially, and that is surrounded by the outside fortification walls. This turned out to be a really fun fortress to wander around inside of. Lots of times I just admire them from the outside because, it leaves the mystery intact and your imagination can run wild. But this one was worth coming inside. Interesting architecture, and also so strategic. It's on the European side of the Dardanelles. There's another castle across the way on the Asian side, and these two fortresses controlled all of the passage into the Black Sea. All of the Black Sea ports, everything that went in and everything that came out had to pass through here, which leads to an amazing accumulation of wealth. So much I can't even imagine what that added to the coffers of the Sultan.
These are bunkers dating from the 19th century, and they were designed to help protect the strait. On a more somber note, we headed south on the Gallipoli Peninsula to look at the sites commemorating the Gallipoli campaigns of World War I. Nothing points out the futility of war more than this somber Anzac memorial. And unfortunately, humanity has learned nothing in the more than 100 years since.
This is the interpretive center for the Gallipoli campaigns.
Gallipoli was a major victory for the Ottoman Empire, but it didn't really influence the outcome of the war. There were over 500,000 casualties.
Well, good morning. Kind of hate to leave this place because it had a great view of the Dardanelles, the body of water between the European part of Turkey and the Asian part of Turkey. But today we're going to go over that giant bridge behind me and we're going to go to Troy. And I just hope there's a giant wooden horse there.
One of the reasons I love bridges is that they serve as such a powerful metaphor for connecting people and cultures. They span geographical, social, and ideological divides and lead to better understanding, dialogue, and unity. As a symbol, this bridge represents the intentional act of creating a pathway across obstacles, transforming isolation into community and division into cooperation. Not to mention the sheer beauty and elegance of this majestic bridge. It's a beautiful design in a beautiful place. What's great to finally be in Turkey, and it was especially a treat to see this incredible bridge, the Canakkale 1915 bridge. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, although I doubt that that's possible. If you'd like to see and follow along with more of our journeys, please like, subscribe, and comment below. And join us next time on Tumbleweed in Turkiye as we explore the ancient city of Troy. Hopefully, we find an ancient horse.